Once the hour is too late, but it never gets about your brain. We will pay. Take my hand, it's now or never die. Just one way, it's together, never, never.
What is up, guys? It's me, Razo Munchausen, and welcome to another SNK power scaling video. This time featuring the new protagonist of this new saga in the King of Fighters, Shun'ei. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm choosing Shun'ei out of all the other countless characters in KOF's repertoire. And it's mostly because of this. He does not get enough love, he does not get enough attention, he does not get enough of any of that from the fans. Everyone is too busy hating on him due to his design, and due to the fact that he's not Kyo. He doesn't act like Kyo. He's not, important to Kyo. Therefore, he sucks. For those reasons mostly. And I went through YouTube to see if I could find any videos on people discussing Shun'ei as a character, and I found none. Only found one by some dude named Sugar Punch, in which he calls Shun'ei the most awful newcomer in KOF 14. And it's not because of his personality, the fact that he's a kind kid. It's not because of his unique abilities to the series. No, it's because of his design. He calls him the worst character in KOF 14 and KOF because of his design. Which, old traditional fans took that video as well and ran with it to boost as to why Shun'ei is the worst character ever. Which, by the way, thanks a lot, douchebag. So, yeah, and you can even send him this video and so he can hear this. Frankly, because I don't care. But regardless, this is going to be one of two videos I'm going to do on Shun'ei. This one's going to be power scaling him. The next one is just going to be giving him the proper credit he deserves and just to talk about him as a character. And just to give him, some love. Because, why? Well, here's why.
Because if I don't, who will?
So yeah, that's why. Because if I don't, no one else is going to make a video giving Shun'ei any kind of credit because they're just not interested in doing so. So, anyway, let's go ahead and consider this a part 1 of 2 for this power scale video. Because I will be updating it once the King of Fighters 15 comes out in February, which is just a couple of months away. Which is, holy crap, that's amazing. Time has really gone by. But either way, sit back, relax, and I really do hope that you guys enjoy this video. So anyway, with all that said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so let's kind of get into Shun'ei's past and who he is and where he came from before we get into the overall power scale for the character. Shun'ei is a direct product of Ash Crimson's time paradox at the end of the King of Fighters 13. Ash Crimson had erased both himself and his ancestor from time and space completely, wiping out their entirety of their existence, just like that. From that, a paradox was born that created a massive gap in the KOF timeline. To fill in that gap, Shun'ei was born. And with his birth, he gained supernatural powers unlike anything anyone else has ever seen. His powers were so destructive and dangerous that his family exiled him. They abandoned him completely, along with presumably the entirety of his town and or village, thus installing a fear of his powers in him at a very young age, until Tung Fu Ru, a KOF veteran and Fatal Fury veteran, took him in. But even after taking him in, that fear of his powers never really left, and it kind of gave him a fear of being around other people due to the fact that he has no control. Even after all these years of him training and better learning his powers, he is still very much afraid. He's still very much afraid of hurting others. But thanks to the push of Tung Fu Ru and encouraging him to enter the King of Fighters 14 tournament, Shun'ei was able to overcome that fear, to step out into the world, to show what he is made of. Now, Shun'ei as a new character, especially as a new protagonist, is already kind of showing that he has the potential to become one of the strongest KOF protagonists in the entirety of the series. I would have to say he probably has infinite potential in this regard. And it shows. As seen in the King of Fighters 14 and its official manga, A New Beginning, both properties that we will be using the cover to discuss his abilities, his feats, and more, going from here, going out from there, along with the King of Fighters 15 team story prologue and the character stats that they have with it. Now to start us off, we'll go into his speed. Shun'ei is very much a speedster, as his official character stats show. He caps off, or maxes out, at speed, which is very fair because in his base form, we have seen him attack so fast that he literally turns and moves into a beam of light, piercing his foes, thus showing that he can hit light speed in combat. But when you take into consideration that he knows how to use chi, which he can use to enhance his speed, physical capabilities, and more, he can be hitting a lot faster. So he can very much be hitting those faster than light speeds within the series. And this is backed up by the fact that he has fought characters like Benimaru, Kyo, Ryo, and more within the series. And we see this especially in his fight against Ryo in the King of Fighters 14 manga. Now, in this manga, after Ryo encourages and pushes Shun'ei to finally go all out in their fight, Shun'ei does so. And at first, it's a pretty even fight between the two. You know, Shun'ei is discovering that, hey, there are people out there who can take my punches. There are people out there who can handle my power. This is great. So, Shun'ei in response decides to take off his limiters, which would be his jacket, his headphones, and the bandages on his arms. Those make him feel normal. Those make him feel secure. So when he takes those off, he feels like he can finally go all out. And when he does so, he goes into what I call it his Unleashed mode. That is not the official SDK name for his first transformation, but I'm going to call it that because that's essentially what it functions as. In this state, he gets a dramatic power and speed increase. But since we're focusing on speed, we'll mainly go off of speed first. His speed continues to grow and grow and grow as his fight's going on. Ryo is at first matching him with no issues, no problems, but he's slowly starting to feel overwhelmed, which says a lot because this same Ryo, in the King of Fighters 97 official comic from SNK, we see him take on a bloodlusted Iori, who's going all out. Now, Iori is someone who has been shown to be capable of blitzing people who are light speed, such as when he killed Mature and Vice, both characters who move at light speeds, fight at light speeds, have reflexes and such like that, and can even go further than that due to the fact that they have control over chi to enhance their speed even more so. And Iori, in his Rite of Blood states, blitzed them completely, one-shot them, and killed them. Ryo fought this Iori and was matching him blow for blow, speed blitzing him at times, moving faster. They're both overcoming each other in speed, but we're still matching each other. So the fact that Ryo could take him on and only got stronger and faster since then, this says a lot for Shun'ei. Shun'ei is overcoming him. Like, Ryo's barely having time to really think or say anything at this point because he's too busy trying to react to Shun'ei and keep himself from getting wiped out. In fact, it's getting to the point where all the other fighters are like, okay, how much power is this kid holding? How much faster can he get? This is getting ridiculous. Like, his speed is continuously increasing to the point that Ryo is just like overwhelmed. He doesn't know what to do. But he's still keeping up. Until Shun'ei hits his final state, in which then, his berserker state, I guess you can call it, in which then he completely overwhelms Ryo in terms of speed. Showing that even with that character stat that we see, where his speed is at max in his base form alone, he can break through that. He can break through that limitation. He can break through that barrier, which can easily place him faster than characters like Leona, who again can fight at faster than light speeds, Again, fascinating characters like Angel, who can outrun a black hole, which is confirmed, again, in the King of Fighters XIV manga with the English translation, where Maxima outright states that Angel can outrun it. He should be able to match characters like Iori, Kyo, and all other kinds of speedsters in the series. So, just speed alone, Shun'ei is already fairly impressive, in which I'll go further into his speed later on into the video, so just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, in terms of speed, Shun'ei is no joke. He's already up there amongst the top speedsters in the series like Ash, Kyo, Iori, Elizabeth, and more. And could probably outdo a good portion of them on his own while in his base form, let alone in his transform states. But now, let's go into his physical capabilities, in which this is where things are really going to get wild. Alright, now let's go over Shun'ei's physical capabilities, his powers, his feats, and just go on from there. Now, to make this clear, just like Angel, this is going to be a little bit difficult just because of the fact that he's only been in one game plus a manga. So, we don't really have a lot to go on because he's still a new character. He's still a new protagonist, which means that there's still a lot more room for him to grow in his abilities, his feats, and so on. So, just keep that in mind, and remember, I am going to do a part 2 to this once 15 comes out in February. So, just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, Shun'ei, again, he's interesting because of the fact that ever since he was a child, he has always had high destructive capabilities. This is shown and told specifically through the fact that his entire family and village, seemingly, abandoned him because they were terrified of him, because his powers had a tendency to destroy everything around him. And this is even further confirmed by Tongfuru and Maida-kun and the King of Fighters XIV prologue story for Team China, which is Shun'ei's team, in which they said that whenever, he went all out as a child, he would end up destroying the dojo, and it was really hard for Maida-kun and Tongfuru to restrain him. Again, this is a much younger Shun'ei, and he's already arguably building level as a small child to possibly being something like small town level, based off the information that we have. Again, that's not super impressive, but it's impressive enough for someone who was much younger and not as controlled back then. It's kind of a similar situation to, Kid Goku and Grandpa Gohan in the OG Dragon Ball series, where Goku accidentally killed Grandpa Gohan in his Ozaru state because he couldn't control it, and also kind of caused destruction in his wake. But thankfully, unlike Grandpa Gohan, Tongfuru and Maida-kun had help, so, good on them, right? But now that he's much older and he has better control of his powers, he's been able to keep his destructive tendencies down just a bit, but not too much, because he still has moments where he loses control, especially if, he's in the presence of somebody who has a very high power level, or very high chi. Like Iori Yagami, for example, and Terry Bogard. Just being in their presence, or feeling their power, causes his powers to go absolutely crazy, and makes him want to lash out at it, usually. And that's due to this reason alone. His power comes from the new main villain of the saga, Verse, who I will go into in a little bit later, so keep that in the back of your mind. Shun'ei is a user of illusions. He can summon these key illusionary hands, made up of fire water supposedly, to do fighting for him along with fight at close range. With these hands, and with these powers as a whole, he is extremely dangerous. And we see this firsthand in his fight against Ryo. Yes, I'm going back to Ryo because, again, there's a whole lot of things to be taken away from that battle. Now, Ryo, he put some work in on Ryo. At first, Ryo was kind of pushing him around, getting him to go all out. And then when Shun'ei finally decided to go all out, it was proving to be too much for Ryo. It went from being somewhat of an equal fight to where Ryo was getting overwhelmed, not just speed-wise, but power and strength-wise as well. Again, this says a lot because Ryo, and again I'm going back to this, fought a bloodlusted Iori. Now, in the official KOF 97 comic, Iori was so powerful that he almost destroyed the Earth with one attack. That's right, Iori Yagami, everyone's favorite edgelord, almost destroyed the Earth with one attack, but he held back just enough to the point where he only damaged the Earth's space-time curvature, and he caused the planet's rotation to shift a bit. So, yeah, that came from Iori holding back, mind you. And Ryo fought Iori, and was fighting him equally for a while. So keep that in mind, and even then, he was not as badly damaged, or looked as bad, as he did by the end of this fight with Shun'ei, who in his berserker state at that point completely overwhelmed Ryo. But Ryo bounced back and managed to knock him out, and knock him out of his berserker state as well. So again, just based off of via scaling, Shun'ei should be at the bare minimum around planet level. Now, he can scale much higher because of the fact that Ryo only got stronger, just like Iori did. But Ryo only got much stronger since the KOF 97 era, since the Orochi saga. Because at this point in the series, it's even confirmed by Maxima himself that Ryo has the toughest body and most durable body, and it's probably the strongest, out of all the normal humans in the series right now. That's right, out of all the normal humans. So that means he's more durable than Kyo, more durable than Iori, and is tougher than both of them, more than likely stronger. But that just could mean physical-wise, not power-wise. Just keep that in mind. And Shun'ei gave him the works. Literally gave him the hands. And was smacking him for a bit. So just keep that in mind. And we even have further things to kind of like back this up with one interesting feat that is kind of hard to calculate and scale, which is the fact that Shun'ei actually caused Earth's gravitational field to go into complete disarray. He caused severe changes. Now, I could go into Earth's gravitational field, but this video is already turning out to be a lot longer than what I expected. So I'll just leave some screenshots up to show you. Now, the big thing here is that what causes most changes in the gravitational field is when the seasons change. One of the more noticeable ones is when the Earth's ocean, starts shifting and changing as well. Which Earth is made up of about 71% of water. So that's a very noticeable change, or when tectonic plates cause land masses and stuff to move. So again, usually that is around multi-continental ranges that you're dealing with here. And Shun'ei, in his powered up state, and with a couple of punches, keep in mind, exerted more force and power than that. And it only grew in size. And that's because of how unstable his power was. Shun'ei straight up messed up Earth's gravity, essentially. Now, you could just say he messed up over Russia where he was, which is also fair, which again be around continental with just sheer force alone and his energy and power. But as a whole, this would be multi-continental ranges and possibly power to being around planetary, depending on the science that you go into, which, we kind of need our gravity to not possibly cave in on us and destroy the planet. And Shun'ei is very much capable of doing so with this kind of power. So he is already extremely dangerous, and at the bare minimum, planet level. And that's just based off of via scaling and this major feat that he has. But it doesn't stop there. Remember how I mentioned verse earlier? Now, this is where things get a little bit higher and a bit crazier. Verse is Janemba. For anyone who's ever watched Dragon Ball Z Fusion Reborn, classic movie, I recommend it. Verse is essentially Janemba. He's an eternal being of like pure negative energy, whose very existence, for one, caused changes to, or caused disturbances within the gravitational waves, in which that's usually only caused by, a neutron star, supernovas, or black holes merging. So pretty much notice how these are all star level cases, alright? According to NASA and National Geographic and all those others, those are mainly star level cases. And when those usually happen, it sends ripples and disturbances throughout space-time that our technology can pick up. Versus mere existence or non-existence, because he hadn't taken a physical form yet at that point, caused that. So versus pre-existence in this case is already hitting things like star level to solar system level via supernovas and black holes, and so on. But it doesn't stop there. Verse, his very existence, or it, because it has no gender essentially, can, and I kid you not, its very existence tears apart, or at least creates major changes in higher dimensional membranes and fabrics and realities, which is why souls were able to break through, because Versus mere existence essentially tore through these higher dimensional barriers that keep souls in the afterlife from reaching over into our world, into our universe. And Verse didn't just do this as KOF universe, he did this across multiple: the Samurai Showdown universe, the Dragon Gao universe, the Skylove universe, and the KOF universe. And God knows how many others he did this to. In fact, it was to the point where even the manga confirms, alright? The manga confirms this, that hurricane, the quote-unquote hurricane that we see roll in, is actually time and space itself. Given form, that's just completely been warped and distorted to the point where now it's just very much noticeable. And in the middle of that is a massive tear that essentially equals the boundaries between life and death, and that it's just completely ruined. Yes, the boundaries of life and death just ruined. Higher dimensional barriers, membranes, and more, which, Xanadu brings up, but no one pays attention to him despite the fact that he's super wise. Versus existence tore through that. So just going off of that, especially on multiple universal ranges here, Versus mere presence alone and power based off of that alone can easily reach, high universal to like at least low multiversal levels of power, which is insane. And Shun'ei, granted, along with the help of Kyo, based off of the narrative, although the King of Fighters XV team story for Shun'ei's team, Team Hero, mainly points to Shun'ei being the victor here against Verse. But in the end, Shun'ei beat Verse. A weakened Verse that could still do this. This wasn't Verse at full power. So keep in mind, this can already knock Shun'ei up much higher in terms of tiering, which is insane. And due to the fact that Shun'ei has at least a fragment or a remnant of Verse's power, means that Shun'ei could probably tap into some pretty crazy stuff on his own end, which is why I say he potentially has infinite potential. But yes, Shun'ei beat him. Now in the manga, Geese beat Verse, which, will put Geese very high up already, because he's already insanely strong. Geese beat Verse and took Verse's power, and thus created Nightmare Geese. And at the end, Shun'ei beat him as well. So Nightmare Geese at least should be around planetary or much higher again, because he's stronger than Rio. But again, we're not going to go too much into that. But yeah, those are two different things. But in this case, he beat Verse and beat Nightmare Geese. So Shun'ei just consistently is a force to be reckoned with, and is a lot stronger than what most people give him credit for. and he really should not be slept on. He should really be given a chance to grow, not only as a character, but just in the series alone. And if you can all just go past the looks of the character, okay? I get it, you don't like the look, whatever. It wasn't made to appeal to old fans. It was made to bring in newer fans, which it did. But if we can all just sit back and essentially enjoy what Shun'ei is doing here, especially since with KOF 15, it seems like he's going to be traveling through other dimensions, which is insane. That would mean that he has some pretty insane speed feats coming up, and I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to be seeing seemingly a full powered verse as well. So that's also something more to look forward to, because according to KOF 15 verse, its mere existence is changing the natural rules of the universe and all this other kinds of stuff as well. So this Shun'ei is going to be extremely powerful once KOF 15 is done, which is why I'm going to make my part 2. But in the end, let's just all give him a chance and give him a chance to grow. If you don't like his look, at least like, I hope that you can at least like some of the things I presented here for his character. But in the end, if you don't, that's fine as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm sorry it took so long to get this out. I was trying to balance this out between work and so many other things as well. But I really hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please hit that like and subscribe button. This is a lot longer than my on-hell video, I won't lie. I thought it was gonna be a bit shorter, but it wasn't. But it is what it is. Anyway, love you guys, take care, and I'll see you in the next video, which hopefully won't take me as long. But peace out, y'all, and stay safe out there.